What's up, factory workers? Welcome to the Gunpla Space Factory. Today we're going to be painting the high-grade RMS-117 Galbaldy beta from Bandai. I actually began building this kit last year and filmed the first couple of minutes of footage last fall. But thanks to certain life circumstances, the build was placed on hold for a few months. But finally, after a long wait, I can finally resume production of the Galbaldy beta. Well, as they say, better late than never. Though I haven't quite finished watching the Zeta Gundam, I really like the Galbaldy beta design. It looks like a love child between the Gelgoog and a Rick Diaz, which are both really awesome mobile suits. I'm stoked to get the Galbaldy beta into the production line. This is going to be a long video, so get comfy and ready. Let the work shift begin. Let's do our best. As usual, I quickly unbox the Galbaldy beta and do a quick scan of the instructions. I then began the snap build. The Galbaldy has a decent amount of parts. It took me a couple hours to finish the snap build with minimal cleaning. The Galbaldy beta is a sleek but mean design. It looks like the perfect antagonist mobile suit. Bandai did a great job with this high-grade kit. It has very good molded details and it does a very good job of hiding seam lines by incorporating them into the panel lines. Very good indeed. I'm stoked. I can't wait to see what its painted potential looks like, but for now, we close up shop and get some rest. The real work starts tomorrow. The next day, I quickly disassembled the Galbaldy and separate the parts into 3 different groups. I began by cleaning and sanding the gray parts. I load these parts into the ultrasonic cleaner, pour warm water with a mild dish soap, and set the timer for 10 minutes. When finished, I strain and rinse the parts with tap water and use an empty airbrush set at 40 psi to blow the water out from the parts. After drying, I sprayed the piping details using Alclad Gold Titanium with my airbrush set at 13 psi. The inner parts and joints get sprayed with Alclad stainless steel. Alclad recommends you prime the parts before you spray them with their metallic paints. But as an experiment, I chose to spray these parts directly to see how well the metallic finish holds up. I'm liking the effects so far. After letting the parts cure for 6 hours, I sprayed the parts with Alclad Aqua Gloss to protect the finish. These are the parts after curing overnight. Next, I sand the next group of parts using 400 grit sandpaper. I wash and dry them off camera. I load the airbrush with decanted Tamiya white primer surfacer. Then I begin spraying the parts with 2 light coats of primer. Airbrush is set at 20 psi. Ideally, if you're painting dark colors, you'd want a darker color primer. However, I ran out of gray surfacer and I only had white surfacer to work with. In hindsight, a few drops of black paint would have darkened the primer, but apparently only half my brain showed up for the build that day. I let the primer cure for 6 hours. Next, I custom mixed the Galbaldy's wine brown color using Mr. Color GX3 Red, Gundam Color Char Red, and Tamiya XF10 Flat Brown. I sprayed 3 light coats of paint with the airbrush set at 20 psi. I let the parts cure overnight. For the final group of parts, I repeat the same sanding, washing, and priming process. If you're wondering why I don't just do it all in one go, breaking up the parts into color corresponding groups allows me to spread out the work into multiple day build sessions. This is a good strategy for those who have limited free time but still want to bask in the joys of painting Gunpla. I also let these parts cure for 6 hours. For the red body parts, I will paint them with Mr. Color Gundam Color Char Red. I find this color to be a pretty good match as is. I thin this paint using 1 part paint and 1 part leveling thinner. I first spray a light coat. Then finish up with a second wet coat. I let these parts cure overnight. To paint the yellow part in the shield, I first mask off the area around to avoid getting too much yellow overspray on the primer. I spray it using Tester's Createx fluorescent yellow directly from the can. After letting it dry for a few hours, I mask over the yellow area by slowly working the tape around the inner shape. Then I use a very sharp hobby knife to cut around the edge and pull the excess masking tape off. For the shield green color, I used Tamiya XF58 Olive Drab as a base with a pinch of Tamiya X4 Blue. With the airbrush set at 17 psi, first I spray a light coat, then a second heavy wet coat. After letting the paint dry for a couple of hours, I go ahead and peel off the masking tape. Close enough. Next, I spray all the colored parts with a relatively wet coat of Alclad Gloss Clear Coat. Airbrush set at 25 psi. I sprayed the red parts off camera. For the mono eye, I first sprayed the whole piece with Tamiya X10 gunmetal. Then I do my best to cut a hole to mask around the actual eye. This took me a couple of tries to get right. With decanted testers Createx fluorescent pink loaded into the airbrush, I slowly sprayed the eyepiece with the airbrush set at 13 psi. For the thrusters, I have a shiny stainless steel finish in mind. I first mask off all the areas using various sizes of Tamiya tape, and I carefully cut out the areas to be painted with a sharp hobby knife. I sprayed these areas using Alclad stainless steel with the airbrush set at 13 psi. Peeling off the masking tape to reveal the details is always very satisfying. Next, I set my sights on the beam rifle. I start by spraying a coat of Alclad Gloss Clear Coat to use as a primer. After letting the gloss clear coat cure for a couple of hours, I sprayed the main body and muzzle brake with Alclad Burnt Iron. I sprayed the entire scope with Alclad stainless steel, then carefully sprayed the piping with Alclad gold titanium to match the rest of the piping detail. I seal in these metallic finishes with a coat of Alclad Aqua Gloss Clear Coat. For the optics lens, I cut a small hole in a piece of large masking tape, set my airbrush pressure to 10 psi, and slowly start layering small amounts of paint. I keep the air flowing to aid the coats of paint dry faster. To help the beam rifle's details stand out a bit more, I mask and cut around the side panels and spray them with Alclad stainless steel. The beam rifle looks much better with a good amount of color separation. By this stage, it's been 4 weeks since I resumed the Galbaldy build and the paint is well cured by now. I began assembling the Galbaldy to get it ready for some aftermarket decals, as this will help later when lining up the marks. These will be simple warning marks, but decals always make scale models feel more realistic, and I feel high-grade kits greatly benefit from them. I use some micro set solution to help the decal adhere better to the surface. I place the decal and carefully wick the rest of the solution away with a paper towel. The Galbaldy has come a long way. It looks nearly finished at this stage, but there's still some more work to be done. I partially disassembled the Galbaldy one last time and mask off all the details painted with metallic paints. I then apply one final wet coat of Alclad flat clear coat with the airbrush set at 25 psi. By now you probably noticed I did not panel line the Galbaldy. This was mainly due to a weird reaction between the gloss clear coat and the Tamiya panel liner I usually use. When I tried to panel line, I found the clear coat was dissolving and spattering really bad. Because I didn't have any more red paint left over, I chose not to risk ruining the paint and left the Galbaldy as is. However, even without panel lining, I think the kit looks very good. Bandai did a good job with the details and they stand out on their own rather well. There is also some minor details I didn't paint. They shouldn't be too noticeable, but I feel like I'm not doing this kit any justice. Even so, I'm liking how it's turning out so far. And these are the parts after curing overnight. And at last, final assembly. I'm stoked. I can't wait to see the final result. Here it is, the high-grade RMS-117 Galbaldy Beta, ready for the Titans to take delivery in their efforts to suppress the HGUC's insurgency operations. Thanks to the way Bandai designed the Galbaldy, I did virtually no gluing or seam line removal. The seam lines are incorporated into the panel lines themselves, and that actually makes them look better. In my opinion, it's a very well designed, high-grade kit. Painting the Galbaldy Beta has really brought it to life. Painting it really unleashes the potential of the kit, and the aftermarket decals give it a nice realistic touch. Throughout the build, I struggled a bit with dust particles and static electricity in the air. It's especially bad in the winter. My camera does a good job at capturing the dust particles on the paint finish, and it seems no matter how much I blow off the dust with compressed air, dust particles seem to find their way back to the paint finish. Even so, I am very happy with the results. If you liked the video and would like to see more like these, please subscribe if you haven't already done so, and stay tuned for more build videos. If you'd like to follow me more closely, I have Instagram and Twitter accounts as well, links down in the description below. The work shift is over. Thank you for your hard work. I hope to see you here on the next video.